contender, but as the standard. The question wasn't if he would perform, but who could possibly keep up. His swing was effortless. His rhythm was ice cold. His focus, unshakable. To everyone on that tee box, this was Miles Russell's territory. But tournaments aren't won on reputation. And in a game where every hole tells a story, sometimes an unknown name shows up with a pen of their own. You can be the favorite. You can have the experience. You can even be the best. But sometimes the biggest surprises don't come from those on top. They come from the ones no one saw coming. There were no cameras on him during warm-ups, no pre-tournament interviews, no buzz from golf analysts. Charlie Woods entered the Team TaylorMade Invitational ranked in 606 in the AJGA standings. Not a dark horse, not a headline, just another name on the tee sheet. His registration barely made a ripple. No expectations, no noise. And that's exactly how a surprise begins, quietly. He had played at this level before, but never on a stage. In 5 AJGA events, he had one top 25 finish. Not bad, but not the kind of results that raise eyebrows. Every shot he took came against a mountain of comparisons, not to other juniors, but to his last name. Because when your name is Woods, you don't really get to start at zero. Charlie played his opening holes with the calm of someone who had nothing to prove. And everything. No flashy moves, no dramatic reactions, just controlled motion, hole after hole. While others warmed up in the spotlight of expectations, Charlie emerged from the shadow of silence. His name wasn't on anyone's watch list, but every par, every birdie added something new. Weight. Not the weight of fame, but the weight of focus. When he turned in a round of 70 on day 1, a few people glanced up. When he posted a 65 on day 2, no one looked away. This wasn't luck. It wasn't a hot streak. It was calm, rhythm, and a plan that had been quietly taking shape long before this tournament began. The son of a legend had started doing something few expected. He began writing a story of his own, and the ink wasn't drying slowly. And yet, under the radar is where stories like this are born. Every tournament day begins with numbers, but it ends with impressions. On day 2 of the Team TaylorMade Invitational, Charlie Woods showed he was more than just a last name on the leaderboard. His round of 65 wasn't a fluke, it was a statement. 8 birdies, precision off the tee, irons dropping into place like clockwork. No show, no flair, just craftsmanship. And in a field full of promise, Charlie suddenly started setting the tone. What stood out wasn't just the score. It was his expression, not tense, not hyped, just focused. While others in his group sped up or slowed down after mistakes, Charlie kept one rhythm. No reactions to bad bounces. No fist pumps after birdies. The pressure came, but he didn't flinch. He moved like this wasn't his biggest moment. It was his most natural one. At the same time, Miles Russell continued to play well. No mistakes, no drama, exactly what you'd expect from the number 1. But something had shifted. The buzz wasn't just about Russell's consistency anymore, it was about Charlie's climb. Hole by hole, the attention began to tilt. Media started updating headlines. Coaches checked the live scores more often. Players in the clubhouse began rethinking their Sunday pairings. Because when an unknown starts rising, no one asks why. They ask, when will it stop? For the first time all week, the name Charlie Woods didn't sound like a footnote. It sounded like a threat. And it wasn't just his last name that made people watch, it was his score, his calm, his control. By the end of day 2, whispers turned into watch lists. Some rounds win a tournament, others rewrite a reputation, and Charlie Woods' final round of 66 did both. 8 birdies, no double bogeys, barely a misstep. Everything seemed to click, not because of magic, but because of method. Where others tightened up under Sunday pressure, Charlie found another gear. His game didn't get nervous. It got sharper, and in a field full of noise, he suddenly became the only sound. The difference wasn't just in the numbers, though they spoke volumes. While top favorite Miles Russell finished at a strong 8 under, Charlie posted a final score of 15 under par. Not close, not lucky, convincing, a 3-shot margin over what many called the strongest field of the AJGA season. According to Reuters, it was a statement win. Not a flash, not a fluke. A warning. What Charlie delivered that day wasn't a miracle round, it was control. Every shot looked rehearsed, no risky hero shots, no tentative bailouts, just cold, clean execution. Charlie played like a veteran, wrote Golf Digest, and maybe that was the most surprising part. Not that he won, but how he won. He didn't play like someone proving something. He played like someone confirming it. When the final putt dropped and the score became official, the course didn't fall silent because of disappointment. It went quiet because of realization. This wasn't just a kid playing well. This was a player arriving with intent. And just like that, the player in the shadows stepped into the spotlight. The score was final, but the real impact hadn't even started. Within hours of Charlie Woods locking in his win at the Team TaylorMade Invitational, the golf world began to buzz. Sports Illustrated, the New York Post, Golf Digest, they weren't writing about Tiger's son anymore. They were writing about Charlie the competitor, the breakout, the threat. The tone shifted almost instantly. He was no longer a name with expectations. He was a name to game plan around. On social media, coaches began sharing clips of his swing with words like composure, maturity, and precision, not potential, not promise. Words usually reserved for college stars or rising tour pros. According to Golf Monthly, several NCAA programs openly asked whether they'd missed him on their radar. Charlie's reputation wasn't growing. It had exploded. Fans followed suit. The conversation quickly moved from cool to see him out there to how far can this kid actually go? The video of his final round was shared, broken down frame by frame, not to compare him to his father, but to understand how he had done it. The tempo, the calm, the confidence. This wasn't a son riding on borrowed glory. This was a young player forcing his way into the spotlight on his own merit. And that conversation didn't stop at the 18th green. What once was viewed as legacy was now seen as a threat. Charlie hadn't just played well, he had started something, a story of his own, one that others were suddenly watching. He wasn't just the weekend surprise. He had become a name players would start preparing for. This wasn't hype anymore. It was happening. Some wins stay in the weekend they happen. This one didn't. Just days after his victory at the Team TaylorMade Invitational, Charlie Woods made a leap no one saw coming. According to Reuters, he jumped from number 606 to number 14 in the AJGA rankings. One win, one performance, and the entire landscape of junior golf had been reshuffled, not just because of what he did, but because of what it meant. With his new ranking, Charlie earned automatic entry into the Junior Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass, a proving ground where junior elites meet future pros. The same fairways where his father once made history are now his to navigate. But this time, it's not about shadows or legacy. This isn't about who his dad is, it's about what he's just started. A name that once came as a footnote on the bag tag now stands alone on the leaderboard. At first, critics called it a flash. One weekend, one hot streak, but the numbers told a different story. 3 rounds under par, a calm, controlled finish. Not a moment that's forehead still catching his breath. The reporter asked the usual fluff about focus and mindset, but instead of the rehearsed media answers, Charlie took a deep breath and looked straight into the camera. "I know we argue," he said, "but I love you, Dad. This one's for you." The words cut deeper than anything anyone expected. Tiger, just off camera, froze. For a man who's built his life on composure, that moment cracked the armor. This wasn't a scripted Hallmark moment. It was messy, honest, and years in the making. Everyone knows Tiger hasn't been an easy mentor. The hours of grueling training, the pressure of the Woods legacy, the expectation that Charlie should already be better than most adults on the tour, it all adds up. And Charlie? He's carried that weight in silence. Until now, that one line was more than just a dedication. It was a confession, a peace offering, a son trying to break through the noise and reach his father. That wasn't just Charlie talking. It was years of emotion finally getting their voice. It wasn't just a win. It was an emotional reconciliation played out on national TV. Tiger reportedly had to step away from the press zone after hearing Charlie's words. One eyewitness said he just nodded, turned, and walked quietly behind the clubhouse to collect himself. No interviews, no smile, just raw, unfiltered feeling. This was a side of Tiger the world almost never sees. And for the first time, it wasn't about his swing, it was about his heart. For the man who's been larger than life, this was the most human he's ever looked, and it sent shockwaves across the entire golfing world. Commentators paused. Fans choked up, rivals applauded. That line from Charlie wasn't just a headline, it was a moment of truth. Because sometimes the heaviest swings come from the words you never saw coming. Behind every swing, there's a shadow. Tiger's shadow. Whether you're on a PGA leaderboard or hitting at a junior invitational, Tiger Woods' presence looms large. And it's not just family. In a recent US Open twist, JJ Spawn openly credited Tiger for giving him the mental edge to clinch a come-from-behind win. During a mid-round rain delay, Spawn leaned on strategic advice Tiger had once given him. Simple but powerful. And it worked. If Tiger's words are lifting tour pros to championship titles, imagine what they're doing behind closed doors with Charlie. The golf world isn't just witnessing Tiger's legacy, it's being shaped by it in real time. But here's the twist. Tiger's influence isn't just instructional, it's spiritual. He's a living myth, a symbol of perfection under pressure. And that weight isn't light, especially for someone sharing his last name. Charlie doesn't just learn from Tiger, he lives in the orbit of one of the most dissected sports careers in history. Every step Charlie takes isn't just measured in yardage, it's measured in comparison. Every round becomes a referendum on whether the sun can match the legend. That kind of gravity either crushes you, or it forges you. Tiger's wisdom is echoing across the sport, but only Charlie lives inside the echo chamber. For Spawn, it's inspiration. For Charlie, it's expectation. And Tiger, for all his brilliance, knows it. That's why you don't see him pushing Charlie into every spotlight or forcing him to chase media hype. He's teaching his son not just how to win, but how to handle the storm that comes with greatness. Still, living up to the name Woods isn't a challenge. It's a gauntlet. And every young prodigy knows it's easier to chase a dream than to inherit one. But with this round, Charlie proved he's not stuck in the shadow. He's casting one of his own. The echoes of Tiger's dominance may still ring across the fairways, but now there's a new sound coming through, Charlie's swing. And it's not just the sound of talent, it's the sound of independence. The internet exploded, but they missed the real story. Just days after Charlie's emotional post-win moment with Tiger, the golf world's attention shifted to the US Open. And not because of who was leading the leaderboard. A sudden weather delay halted play and left broadcasters scrambling to fill airtime. That's when it happened. Clips of Tiger waiting out storms from his prime years resurfaced across social media. Then came the jokes. Tiger's storms always bring drama. Like father, like son, both make it rain. But what started as lighthearted banter took on a deeper meaning fast. Because behind the memes was something nobody could ignore. Charlie had just created a storm of his own. Fans weren't just laughing, they were connecting dots. The parallels between Tiger's once unstoppable dominance and Charlie's sudden emotional rise were too strong to ignore. But instead of overpowering his competition with a killer drive, Charlie hit viewers with something far rarer: raw, public vulnerability. That moment of Tiger tearing up, of Charlie dedicating his win to their complicated relationship, became the storm the internet couldn't look away from. This wasn't about the leaderboard anymore. This was about a lineage being reshaped in real time. What the world saw as a tearful father, they should have seen as a torch being passed. The clip of Tiger wiping his eyes, the stillness in his expression, the hug he gave Charlie afterward, it wasn't staged. It wasn't for the cameras. It was a father realizing his son had just stepped into something bigger than winning. And viewers felt it, even if they didn't say it out loud. Sometimes it takes a storm to clear the view. And what we saw next was crystal clear. Because when Tiger cried, the world finally understood. Charlie Woods is the future, and the future is now. That clip may go viral for years to come, but it won't be the tear that sticks. It'll be the weight of what it meant. The next great chapter in golf wasn't hinted at. It was just written in front of us. Nobody expected Charlie Woods to do what he did on that green. Not even Tiger. The stakes weren't global championships or PGA Tour millions. It was a playoff matter. Go back just a few years. Charlie Woods first captured the golf world's attention not with a club in hand, but standing next to his father at the PNC Championship. Dressed the same, swinging the same, walking the same. A viral sensation before he ever teed it up under real pressure. The media didn't call him Charlie, they called him Tiger's son. He didn't earn that spotlight, he inherited it. And with every nod, every glance, every high five from his father, the bar was quietly raised. This wasn't just about becoming a good junior golfer, this was about chasing a myth. And in chasing a myth, he became the mystery. Was the potential real, or just genetics in motion? Fast forward to June 2025. The setting, the 108th Florida Amateur Championship. The crowd was small by PGA standards, but the presence on the sidelines was colossal. There, in a golf cart under Florida's sun, sat Tiger Woods, a man who's won everything, but now watched something he couldn't control. His son navigating pressure on his own terms. Charlie wasn't being coached, he wasn't being micromanaged, Tiger wasn't offering swing tips, he was watching, proud, quiet, present, and that's when it became clear. This wasn't about legacy anymore, it was about a rival. This chapter in Charlie's story doesn't open with applause or highlight reels. It starts with restraint, with steady rounds, with an absence of errors. He didn't roar into the spotlight, he walked into it. With each hole at Ballinisles, Charlie looked less like someone trying to prove something and more like someone who already knew who he was becoming. And if you watched close enough, you realized something. He wasn't chasing Tiger. He was channeling him. This wasn't luck, this was dominance. Before Florida, before the quiet intensity of Ballinisles, there was Stream Song, and it was there, at the AJGA Team Tailor-Made Invitational, that Charlie Woods made sure no one could ever say, just Tiger's kid again. Coming into the tournament ranked 604th, Charlie wasn't even listed on the radar of most junior golf analysts. He wasn't the favorite, he wasn't the headline, he was just another name on the tee sheet. 3 days later, his name was the only one anyone was still talking about, because what he did in that tournament didn't whisper potential, it screamed proof. The numbers alone were staggering, a 15 under par total, including a closing round 66 that featured 8 birdies. But it wasn't the scorecard that stunned the golf world, it was who he beat and how he beat them. The field included 4 of the top 5 junior golfers in the country, including Miles Russell, the undisputed number 1. Charlie didn't edge him out, he didn't survive the pressure, he crushed the field, finishing 3 strokes ahead in one of the most competitive junior events of the year. It wasn't a fluke, it wasn't magic, it was a methodical dismantling. ESPN and Golf Digest quickly picked up the story, but even their headlines couldn't fully capture the shift, because this wasn't just a breakout performance, it was a reintroduction. For the first time, fans, coaches, and even fellow players began to refer to him not as Tiger's son, but as a serious standalone title contender. And for the top juniors who had grown used to hearing the name Woods with nostalgia, it suddenly became a real-time threat. The legacy had returned, but this time it had its own swing, its own stride, its own story. There's a difference between playing well and playing with presence. Charlie had both. He didn't ride momentum, he created it. He didn't hope for mistakes, he forced them. Every hole was a statement, every birdie was a message. He was no longer waiting for his name to be called, he was taking it. And as the dust settled at Stream Song, one thing was clear. Junior golf had a new reality, and his name was Charlie Woods. This wasn't the coach, this was the father. He didn't arrive with fanfare. There was no press conference, no entourage, just a man in a cart, sunglasses on, sitting quietly near the ropes at Ballinisles Country Club. But make no mistake, when Tiger Woods showed up to the Florida Amateur Championship, the energy shifted. Fans whispered, cameras crept closer. But Tiger wasn't there for the spotlight. He was there for something more personal, for something even more powerful. He was there to watch his son stand alone, and he couldn't look away. Observers noted something unusual about Tiger's body language that weekend. He wasn't analyzing swings or making calls from a practice green. He wasn't scribbling notes or offering advice. He sat still, leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. Every shot Charlie took, Tiger followed, not with a coach's critical eye, but with a father's quiet reverence, because what he was seeing wasn't technical, it was transformational. According to Golf Monthly, Tiger's appearance was completely unexpected. He hadn't been seen publicly in weeks, still recovering from a torn Achilles that had kept him off the course. And yet, here he was, not limping down fairways, but showing up when it mattered most. His presence wasn't promotional, it was paternal. As Sportskeeda put it, Tiger watched with pride, awe, and emotion. And when the cameras caught that rare smile, you didn't see a champion. You saw a dad. Those who were close enough swore they saw him wipe his eyes. Maybe it was sweat, maybe it was sun, or maybe it was something else. When asked by a reporter after the round what he thought of Charlie's performance, Tiger kept it simple. Proud doesn't even begin to cover it. There were no long quotes, no public speeches. He let the moment speak for itself, and maybe that silence said more than any press statement ever could. This wasn't Tiger Woods scouting future greatness. This was Tiger Woods watching his own legacy unfold from the outside in. No swing thoughts, no media spin, just a front row seat to a performance that proved his son no longer needed to borrow his spotlight. Because that day, Tiger didn't cast the shadow. He stood in it, chase, and smiled. It wasn't just a golf shot, it was a generational exhale. It came late in the round, not with fireworks, not with drama, but with something quieter, something final. Charlie Woods stood over a slippery birdie putt on the 18th green. The Florida sun was falling low, casting long shadows over Ballin Isles. The gallery leaned in. Charlie didn't blink. He read the line, took one smooth stroke, and dropped the putt center cup. No fist pump, no roar, just a walk to the hole, a nod to the crowd, and a tap to the brim of his cap. But somewhere outside the ropes, something else was happening, because the person holding back the most emotion wasn't Charlie, it was Tiger. In that instant, a cameraman caught the shot that would go viral within hours. Tiger Woods, seated near the green, biting the inside of his cheek, visibly misty-eyed, his sunglasses were off, his head slightly tilted. This wasn't a man reacting to a score. It was a father watching a door open, one he'd